Hey guys, what's going on? DuffKing56 here, back with another commentary, and today we're playing some Super Monday Night Combat. This is the beta still, as you can see the build in the top left-hand corner, and I'm playing a little bit with Combat Girl. She's slowly becoming one of my favorite of the heroes to play with, or the athletes to play with, I should say, in the game. And I really do love her. She throws up turrets, and she's got some pretty powerful offensive attacks with her third skills, the huge ass laser, and she can upgrade all turrets in her area of effect with her first skill. And she can throw up to a maximum of 3 or 4 turrets, and she's actually just really good. She's a really good offensive character, but her heals are also pretty cool, even though they come at a reduced rate. You can heal multiple targets in your area of effect, like I said. I don't know how many you can heal, probably up to 4, but I've not tested / realized if you can do any more or less, or if you have to do less. Either way, guys, I want to kick off right into the commentary here. Today we're going to be talking about something that was sort of mentioned in one of my classes. And go figure, it was mentioned in one of my education classes. Really, it's one thing I talk about the most as of late on here, especially since it pertains to me, and it pertains to good discussion, good intellectual development for, like a thinker. I would say a lot of education topics would relate to students in general. Even if you're not going to be a teacher, it's still interesting to talk about and discuss. And that's all I'd like for you guys to do is, let me know what you think about the topic. Let's get some discussion going on. We'll have a really good. This one is pretty good. It has to do with the state of reading and writing. It's gonna be a 2-part commentary. I'll split up into 2, reading and writing. Today we're going to do reading, and this was driven by one of my teachers in school. She asked, she was talking about she's getting her taxes done, and the lady who was doing her taxes, went up to her and she said, well, you're a teacher, right? Just reading and writing things going downhill or whatever. And that's kind of what spurred, many discussion in my class, and I was thinking about it on the way driving home today. And it was interesting enough for me to kind of put into words. So either way, guys, enjoy, and if you don't, then sorry. This is interesting to me, so that's what I'm talking about. So reading. I'm doing reading today. So I was reading Going Down the Hill. And our teacher said that, because we're going to be teachers, everyone's going to start asking us these questions, and they're going to kind of demand answers, and she can't, answer them efficiently in such a short amount of time, which is in like a brief meeting for getting your taxes done. I'm going to try to sum it up as best as I can, and kind of hit on some points in generality and in specificity, and see if you guys, bite off what you can chew. That's kind of what I'm going for here, and just, like I said, enjoys. So as far as reading goes, in my opinion, I feel like it's not going downhill at all. A lot of people who are skeptics or critics of the internet and critics of kind of the new age of technology are probably more so than not ignorant to this idea that reading has probably evolved more than it has devolved or kind of atrophied, as a lot of people would like to say. And I say this because, as a frequent avid user of the internet, I'm very pro-internet, I'm very pro-new technology. There's sort of been an evolution of literacy and reading along with it. And I say this because, I've seen it and I felt it personally, and it's really only been to my benefit, what's happened as far as the evolution of reading goes. And I would say it's quite contrary to the popular belief that reading and writing are going downhill, because I would say that it's going up, or it may not be going up as fast as some people think. It may not be advancing at like a light speed rate, but it's definitely going somewhere, and going somewhere good, I would have to say. And let's get into the examples. Like, a lot of people would argue that the internet is killing our attention spans, and it's kind of rapidly devolving our minds into some sort of skimming receptacles of factoids, just someone who's out for some sort of immediate gratification. Someone asks you a question, you don't know what it is, look it up. You don't even have to think about it, and you just scan through Wikipedia and you find the answer. Now, some people say it's a bad thing. I would say that it's not necessarily a bad thing, but kind of the processes that are going along, underlying I'm trying to put in words, the system that you go through in finding that answer are definitely good in a way. They're very beneficial in that you're decoding the question, right? So if someone asks you, what is the mechanism of action in the synaptic transmission when a drug is introduced to into the postsynaptic neuron, and it kind of cuts off one of the resting potential, or the hyperpolarization of the action potential, and it goes right to resting and never hits that. Now, you guys probably didn't understand that unless you're a biology student. I barely understand that because I'm cramming from a biology test today. It's tomorrow. Don't worry about that. Either way, though, you have to decode that question. What is that question asking? That's a higher order thinking skill. You have to critically analyze it. Another higher order thinking skill. You have to put that question in your own words, and you have to go on the computer and find a search engine. And say you're on Google. You could type in the question verbatim, and you could probably find some shitty Yahoo answer on it. But if you have some sort of underlying main idea that you're trying to pick at, you can search the main idea, maybe find a wiki article, a research paper, or anything on it. And that's a higher order thinking skill. That's going pretty deep, actually, and like finding the main idea and synthesizing it with background knowledge and figuring out and going to search it and finding it on the internet. Now, some people may just see it as going to Wikipedia, searching a question, finding the answer. Now, when you're reading this whole time because you're reading what is being told to you in the question, you're reading the internet and what you're searching in Wikipedia, you're reading the answer. Not only that, you're interpreting it the whole time because you have to make it relate to you and to someone who may not know the answer. Obviously, the person who is asking you doesn't know the answer unless they're quizzing you, in which they wouldn't be, you wouldn't have to go and find the answer unless you didn't know yourself, which you probably don't anyway. Sorry, I'm kind of getting myself in a little circle here. But either way, you have to present that information to that person in a sort of easy to understand way, for like in layman's terms, as a lot of people would say. And that rhymed. So you have to present this knowledge. All the time you're reading. You might be reading a chart back to him. You might be reading a graph or a picture back to him or her, depending on who's asking. And all this time you're reading, decoding, using higher order thinking skills. A lot of people don't even see this, don't even think about it, because it's so ingrained in our minds that this is such an easy to do process. But because it's been ingrained in our minds, we've actually, sort of evolved to kind of know and can easily access this type of method for finding answers in the internet. Now, a lot of people would argue the fact that our attention spans have decreased, and I would agree. And that's not necessarily a bad thing if you know how to sort of harness a shorter attention span into sort of beneficiary, pro-creative activities. So what I mean by that is, like, someone says, hey, read this article. They give you an internet article, newspaper, clip it, whatever. Clip it's not a word, is it? Either way. They give you some sort of article to read, and they expect you to read the whole thing. And most of us probably won't do that. Most of us will probably skip around, jump around the text, go from top to bottom, side to side, look at the columns, look at the pictures, look at the captions, look at the bold printing, maybe read the author's name. We won't give ourselves more attention to the article. But I could argue that, if you are a literate person focused on sort of gaining some sort of meaningful experience out of the article, you're going to be reading that you're going to be skimming through it, but you're going to be able to pick out these important points, and you're going to be able to pick out these details that are vital to your comprehension of the article. And in a day and age when all of the standardized testing for education stresses the importance of reading comprehension on everything, that's important. Being able to read something quickly or skim it and find these main ideas and be able to communicate that back to someone or communicate it to a standardized testing paper, that's going to be good. That's going to be a good thing. And even though our attention may be smaller, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe we're giving less attention to minute details or menial, points that we normally wouldn't need to give any attention to. But instead we're study reading every word, trying to get the sentence by sentence analysis going. We don't really need that. And in a way, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good way we've kind of evolved here with the use of the internet, or as some people would say that this atrophying of our mind, which I would completely disagree with. In fact, that I think the internet more than anything has driven me more to be a more inquisitive researching person, dedicated. I was going to say dedicated. It sort of like glorifies my position as a person dedicated to find the truth. To find the facts, and to find the main ideas of things in an efficient manner that's meaningful to me. I don't need to read a whole article to get some sort of understanding from it. Most of the time I can tell by the title. Things are titled so specifically now that I barely even need to read the article. You read the article for the primary sources, that's about it. Now, one thing I also wanted to move on to is this whole idea of text speak and reading that. Now, most people wouldn't think this, and most people wouldn't think this about leet speak either, is that it's a completely different language. Now it is. It's a completely different adaptation of the English language, or if you're from the UK, the British English language, whatever you call it, the traditional English language back there. So we have these abbreviations. When we have these words, we supplant numbers for letters, and we supplant letters for numbers, and we do this whole different texting language. Swallowing. And people say that's a bad thing. Now, I would say that in a way it's a bad thing. It's very deconstructive to our language, and a lot of people are probably coming away with bad habits. But think of it this way. Think of it like a foreign language, just like Spanish. Take an adult, and if you're very tech savvy or very internet savvy, or if you just have really close friends you talk to on your phone, you end up creating your own language. You end up creating your own little your codex for each other. You kind of understand each other's abbreviations, sort of their mechanisms of speech, so you know exactly what they're saying. Now, this whole time you're decoding and you're analyzing and you're critically responding with your own sort of abbreviated language. But all this time, your brain is working this whole time. It's not like my brain's not working. I can't think of my brain working right now. I'm just talking. This is something that comes naturally. Something that comes naturally to someone who's tech savvy would be leet speak or text language. And in a way, you can think of it as activating sort of the foreign language parts of our brain, because you're not growing up out of the womb getting taught text speak. You learn English first, and then you learn the abbreviation second. It's like the whole idea of literature. You need to know the laws before you're allowed to break them. You need to know the English language before you're allowed to break those laws and abbreviate appropriately so people can understand it on sort of a universal level. Now, you can't tell me that leet speak and sort of text language aren't universally understandable now, because they are. And if you think of it, too, it's even some sort of interdependent platform that we can all connect and communicate with each other with. And some people are saying this is a bad thing. Now, I can see that this is a bad thing, but I also can see how it can be used constructively, and if taught correctly, it can be an amazing thing. It can be some sort of common ground. It's like our Rosetta Stone. Now, I'm kind of like getting ahead of wind here, but I think that this is a very good thing, and this is like pro-learning in a way. And if you just kind of try to think of it through my lens, even though I may be biased, because I'm obviously, like I said, I'm a big fan of the internet, as some of my contemporaries would say. I'm a big fan of the internet. But, I just think that it's something to think about. When someone says, oh, this text speak is a bunch of baloney, you say, well, have you ever thought about it like this? You're kind of looking at it some sullen lens of like an older person, almost like someone who's resistant to change. Just because things are changing doesn't mean that they're bad. They could be. Things can change for the worse. Things can devolve and atrophy like people claim. But things can also change for the better, and things can also just change to the side. Like, who gives a shit what people are saying on their phone, as long as you can understand it and you can text each other, and as long as everyone can communicate still, which I believe they can. I haven't seen some sort of barrier where an adult is speaking to a kid and they don't understand what's going on. Now, maybe because the adult is ignorant and unfamiliar with lingo, abbreviations, stuff like that. But, if everyone has a common background, like a lot of people I see, then I don't really see problems with sort of this communication barrier that people are trying to build up, almost like the Berlin Wall. You're just, so high and strong. But I would disagree, I feel like writing hasn't gone on the downhill. In fact, that, we've almost had this subculture of learning, and we've almost had like this awakening so much as to like a different language and to like a different style of thinking, and really you can't deny that, and in some ways that's a good thing. I'm a proponent of change in that matter. But either way, what do you guys think? I'm going to continue with writing later this week or tomorrow, whenever I can get this recorded. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Please look out for, I'm going to restart the Portal 2 episodes this week, and I'm going to keep you updated with Final Fantasy 13. And I have this next commentary coming out for you just this week, so hopefully you guys enjoy. I'm also thinking about doing a little bit of weekend blog because I'm trying to travel up to Allegheny to see my friend Jesse and kind of pal around with him there. So what do you guys think of that? And what do you guys think of this topic? You know, I want to get some good discussion. Please, guys, I want to talk to you guys. This will be fun. It's a good experience. I love talking to you guys, and I love when you guys talk back after I talk to you. So either way, have yourselves a great evening, afternoon, and morning. This has been Duffkin56. Peace out, guys. Bye.